Could you talk a little bit about your study and kind of the reason for it and how that came about?
Sure. I work on a health law fellowship that's provided by Pfizer to the Mississippi Center for Justice, and I was asked to look into the fact that we had a drastic drop by about 65,000 of people on Medicaid. And this includes children that are poor children. This includes the elderly, the disabled, and the blind. Generally healthy folks, like for myself, someone in their 30s, don't qualify for this type of program. It's pretty much people that rely on someone else for aid or for a living in some fashion. And we had a big drop, and so we also had a spike in the spending. And so I was asked to take a look at that and take a look at the infant mortality rate that it increased. Some areas of the state are triple of what other surrounding other states are, and so we have an issue. So what I decided to do is I went county by county and went to every regional Medicaid office, every satellite office that springs out of those regional offices, all the health departments in the different counties where there either was a Medicaid office, previously was a Medicaid office, anything there, and I interviewed every person I could get my hands on in each county. What I found was that while we do have 30 regional offices out of the 82 counties, many of the counties don't have any service or a very small amount of service at all. And what had happened was about two and a half years ago, really closer to 3 now that we're coming to 2008, we had a situation where the paperwork that you apply for Medicaid or you renew your Medicaid status was being required to be hand delivered in person. And these were done literally not with an interview or not any kind of investigation when someone would show up, but you had to hand deliver all your paperwork. Well, as you can imagine, as a child or as someone who is a shut-in at a home or a nursing home or disabled, in a wheelchair, blind, they're relying on other people to deliver their paperwork that they were relying on for life, fund for living expenses and whatnot. I mean, not living expenses, excuse me, their medical expenses. And this is strictly just a medical issue. This isn't something where people can take the cash and go trade it in or for a check for something else or whatever. It's literally just medical coverage, but for our neediest folks. And what I found was, because of that face-to-face requirement, we have 600,000 people in Mississippi on Medicaid. If you meet 600,000 people face-to-face and you take out for the weekends on a 5-day work week, holidays included, well, basically you've got to meet 2,300 people a day. And the idea of the manpower it takes and the hours and money to do that just creates a system where we've had roughly about 60,000 people fall through the cracks. And what we're trying to do is two things. We're trying to say, look, if we're going to do Medicaid, it's fine to go through and check the paperwork and make sure the people applying are legitimately owned, but let's do it like the other 49 states do. Let's do it like Mississippi used to do, and do it by mail. Or, I mean, if someone can hand deliver, that's fine, but not have a preset time that's set by the state government of June 3rd at 2 p.m. Hope you can make it, you know, and make it where we can make sure we have these people covered. What has happened is we have doubled the administrative costs of Medicaid. And so what we end up having is we spend twice as much for running Medicaid, and we're covering 60,000 fewer people. And so our goal is, number one, is encourage people to talk to their legislator, call the Division of Medicaid, call the governor's office, and say, look, we want to end that face-to-face requirement. But there's also a health side to this as well, and I want to take a little time to talk about that. Basically, in the Tupelo area, we have some serious deficits for office hours, and this goes down through Starkville and Columbus. If you are in, let's see, Choctaw County, Clay County, Webster County, or Chickasaw County, the Medicaid offices in those counties are open 7 hours a month. And so when you are, under the current rules, needing to meet with these folks and get anything accomplished, you have a 7-hour window to get it done per month. So we want to make sure that people that see this or read the paper know that if you live in these areas or you live in any of these counties, particularly rural areas, make sure you call in and find out what hours are available for you.
Is there a website or anything they can check about that? Or
the Department of Medicaid does have a website, and it has a map and a listing of their regional offices. The website is fairly difficult to manage, but if you go to Google and you put in Medicaid Mississippi, it'll pop up the website. And if you call an office in your region, they will be able to tell you what's nearby. Unfortunately, they don't list all the hours on the website. Not all of it's up to date. But
so calling's really your best.
It's very important, particularly if you're in Monroe County, just south of here. At the last interview, there were 3.5 hours of service per month in Monroe County. And so if you're needing to make sure a grandmother or an aunt or uncle or someone is renewed in their status, then we need to make sure that those folks get their paperwork in and don't have a lapse of service or a gap. And we testified in front of the legislature this last Monday just about this very issue, and it came out that out of all the people that apply to Medicaid, 70% are generally approved and the other 30% are not, for various reasons, just normal application process. In the last year, of that 70%, 87% aren't actually just new applicants. They're people who were previously on Medicaid, qualified for Medicaid, but because of this face-to-face requirement or being unable to meet it, they fell off the system and had to be recycled back through as new people. And that's where that extra expense is coming through. And as you can imagine, I tell people all the time, imagine if you worked at the YMCA and 87% of your new sign-ups were people that you accidentally kicked off the membership from last year, you'd probably get fired. Now, I don't want anybody at Medicaid office to get fired, but I do want this policy to change. And if it doesn't change, then I want the people in Mississippi to be ready to deal with it. It's a serious situation.
And it does contribute a little bit, like you said before, to the infant mortality rate.
Yes, we have had, back in the spring, actually the New York Times and some of the news organizations, Dateline, came to Mississippi investigating why the infant mortality rate had gone up. In the Delta and some other regions of the poor rural regions of the state, we have sections that are triple the not even the national average, but just even the other southeastern states. And it's tragedy because we didn't have this 3 years ago. I mean, this is something that's come along in this time frame. And so it's literally costing the health and lives of some people. And so we're pretty confident that we're going to be able to push for a change here, because when you're not helping the people and you're costing more money to do it, there's nobody that really benefits. So we're either going to get it fixed or we're going to deal with what we have. And I encourage people to go to the Medicaid website or call their Medicaid office in advance and find out when their renewal times are. You will get one notice in the mail, and if you miss your deadline, the only other notice you will get, and not everybody gets it, is the one saying that you've been kicked off the system, or your child or your relative has been kicked off the system. And that's not much of a window to catch it. So anyway, that's kind of what we found.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you sharing that with us.